It's immediately after the close of our last episode. As in Judge Selby's courtroom, prosecutor Frederick Apt triumphantly watches Lillian Morrison leave the witness stand. As the prosecutor sends for his next witness, Perry Mason rises from his chair at the defense table, walks down the aisle, through the door, and into the corridor.
Okay, wise guy. Okay, you got to bet $5. And my 5 says he wins.
Paul.
Huh? See you, Cliff. Yeah, Perry.
Friend of yours?
Friend? That vulture? I suppose you want a piece of the bet.
Sorry you made it.
No, I was just offering.
Okay, I'll cut your loss. I'll take $250.
No, Perry, I didn't
Skip
mean
it.
I went.
Skip it. Let me do the worrying.
Well, I ought to do a little worrying, too. I got $2.50 at stake,
You
you
want
know.
me to take it all?
No, I guess I can stand it.
That's what I like about the people who work with me. They have so much faith.
Yeah, I've never seen you up the creek without a paddle before.
Don't you think it's interesting?
Very interesting. Now, that Apt is making it look as if May Grant was carrying a torch for Marcel Blanc.
Yes. Me with no paddle. Paul. Remember a Mrs. Morgan, the woman your man thought was Kitty?
Morgan? Oh, sure.
Well, I just talked to her. She's a very nice person. She'll cooperate.
How?
Well, look, if Kitty DiCarlo has an alibi for the time of the murder, it's a false alibi.
Uh-huh.
Now, I can break a false alibi if I get enough information.
Mm-hmm.
So I want the information. Now, you'll get Mrs. Morgan, Paul. Get Mrs. Morgan.
I do.
Just get into the witness stand, please.
Yes, sir. This chair squeaks.
Tell us your name, please.
Haven't you got someone who...
Never mind the squeak, Mrs. Dean. Just tell us your name and address.
Dean. Carolyn E. Dean, 4739 Platt Street, Chicago, Illinois.
And your occupation?
Just a little furniture oil.
Sit as still as you can, Mrs. Dean, if it bothers you. Now, your occupation.
Chambermaid. Michigan Clark Hotel.
That's in Chicago.
Yes, sir. I've been there 12 years.
I see. And you were on duty the morning of August 18th?
I was. Oh,
On what floor of the hotel, please?
the 6th floor.
Now, Mrs. Dean, I ask you if you see anyone in this courtroom, anyone, whom you also saw on the 6th floor on that morning in question.
I do. 2 people.
Point them out, please.
Well, that lady over there.
Oh, stand up, Mr. Carlo. You saw this lady, Mr. Carlo?
Her and a little girl.
Just a moment. Do you see anyone else?
Yes, sir. That one.
Stand up, Mrs. Grant. You also saw this woman, the defendant, Mrs. Grant?
Yes, sir.
Sit down, Mr. Carlo and Mrs. Grant. I'm going to show you 2 photographs, Mrs. Dean. Give me that. That's right. I show you these photographs. One of the murdered man, Marcel Blanc.
Oh, I saw him that morning, too.
And this photograph, the child known as Dory Grant.
Yes, sir. I saw her, too.
Good, very good indeed. You may tell the jury what you saw happen that morning, Mrs. Dean.
Yes, sir. Well, the first thing we do in the morning is check with the front of the house,
The front of the house.
the manager's office. We learn who checked out early so we can get the rooms ready. That morning they told me 6:11 and 6:13 were checking out early.
I see.
So I went to clean up 6:11, that's a double, to clean it up first. I was pushing my service cart down the hall when I saw the lady,
Which one?
that one there, Miss DiCarlo. Her and the little girl.
You couldn't be mistaken.
No, sir, they passed right by me. The little girl asked what I was pushing. She was a sweet little thing.
Did the child seem unhappy? Was she crying?
Oh, no, she was okay.
Continue, please.
Well, I went down to 6:11. I took out my ring keys to open the door. Then I saw it was already open. Not wide, just a little, maybe a foot. Well, I was going on inside, but I heard them talking.
Them?
That one over there, Mrs. Grant. And the man in the picture, Mr. Blank. At first, I just heard her voice.
Could you understand what she was saying?
Not till I got close to the door. I could see them in the mirror over the dresser. He was standing by the window, smoking a cigarette, Well, kind of watching her.
Mrs. Grant?
She was right in front of him.
Was she fully dressed?
Uh-huh.
Well, go on. What was she saying?
She was asking him something.
Just asking?
Not just asking. Begging. Yeah, begging him to let her go with him.
Now, be very, very careful, Mrs. Dean. Repeat only what you heard.
That's what I heard. She was begging to go with him.
You're certain he didn't ask her?
No, sir, I'm positive. He wasn't saying much at all, just smoking that cigarette and watching her.
Yes. And she?
Well, she said something like, well, I'll do whatever you want. Whatever you tell me, only don't leave me. Please don't leave me. I'll come on my hands and knees if I have to.
And now, once again, and think carefully. She begged to go with him?
Yes, sir. She even started to cry.
That's all. Your witness, Mr. Mason.
Mrs. Dean,
Yes, sir.
now you're a good housekeeper.
It's my job.
Yes, that's why that squeaky chair bothers you. You hate to see a job half finished.
Well, yes, sir.
So do I. I hate unfinished jobs and half-truths. Now, don't get nervous. And think a moment. You say Mrs. Grant asked to go with Marcel Blanc.
Yes, sir, she did.
And just before that, you saw the child being led away from her room.
Why, yes, sir.
Now, did any single thing you heard, did anything indicate that Mrs. Grant wanted to go with Blanc because she was, well, in love with him?
Well,
Yes or no, please?
Well, no, sir.
If all the truth were known, couldn't she have been begging to go with him to protect the little girl?
Well, yes, sir, I guess so. She never said why she wanted to go.
So, in truth, she could have hated that man, right?
I guess she could have, if that was her reason. I mean, if she was worried about the child. She was awful worried, Mr. Mason. She was eating her heart out over something.
Exactly. Eating her heart out with fear. Fear for the little girl whom she loved. Not Marcel Blanc. That's all. Thank you.
Just a moment, Mrs. Dean. Just a little moment.
Yes, sir.
When you heard Mrs. Grant alone with Marcel Blanc in that hotel room, did Mrs. Grant mention anyone else?
No, sir, but
She begged to go with him, with the man we know was most charming and handsome and very attractive to women.
yes, sir. She didn't say anything about anybody else, not the kid or anybody. She just said she had to be with him.
Had to be with him. She was thinking only of him, as far as we know.
Yes, sir, just him.
And now we'll see who May Grant was thinking about when we call the next witness. You may step down, Mrs. Dean, and thank you.
What do you think, Perry?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that tells me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't look so good,
You worried?
Well, aren't you?
Oh, sure I am. About lots of things.
Oh, Perry.
That squeaky chair worries me.
Oh, you. Seriously, Perry?
Seriously, Della. I'm also worried about Paul's bet of $2.50. May Grant is looking worried.
Perry Mason, you're the most exasperating man. You jumped from Paul's 250 to May Grant.
Same thing, Della. I've got to protect Paul's investment. Give me 3 sheets of white paper.
What?
3 sheets of white paper, a sharpened pencil, a straight edge ruler. Come on, Della. This is very important.
Paper, ruler, and a...
No,
Now, what
Della.
in
If I had the paper and the pencil and the ruler, why, then you'd know what I wanted to do. Come on, be a good secretary. Open my briefcase.
Perry Mason is a veteran of many successful court battles, but he knows better than anybody else how much cause there is for real worry now. Worry about more than Mr. Paul Drake's $2.50. But Perry also knows the importance of fighting worry with a smile. So, with the light touch of those 3 sheets of white paper... But won't you join us tomorrow? The strategy of Prosecutor Frederick Apt has been clear and simple and deadly. to prove not only that May Grant killed Marcel Blanc, but also to prove that May was passionately in love with the murdered man, and that out of her infatuation grew the motive for murder. Well, one look at May's white, drawn face, the way she clutches her husband's hand, would indicate how beautifully Apt is succeeding. And one look at defense lawyer Perry Mason, who is working rapidly on a paper spread before him, would indicate that he also is desperately worried. But if you could stand with Della and look over Perry's shoulder...
Almost finished, Della.
Yes, Perry.
I'm ruling 3 sheets of paper here into columns.
Yeah, 2 columns to a page.
That's right. 1 page for you, 1 page for me, and 1 for May.
All right. But why?
Just a second. There. Now, I have noticed something. The witness chair squeaks.
What did you say?
The witness chair squeaks. You know what that means. You get a chance to get even.
Perry Mason, you won 90 cents from me at the McKean trial, and I'm
Well,
not...
now is your chance to get even.
I absolutely refuse to
What's
have
the matter? Are you scared?
No, I'm not scared, but I know...
Della, now the chair has got a lovely squeak.
And I thought you were serious.
I am. As a matter of fact, it has 2 squeaks. A single squeak and a double squeak. Now, you take one of these sheets of paper, and I'll take one. Do you want the doubles or the singles? The squeaks, that is.
Which one do you want?
Well, I'd kind of like the
No,
doubles.
no. I want the doubles.
Oh, well, since you were loser last time. All right. Now, we'll both keep track.
For how much?
Oh, a dime a squeak. Bet?
Bet.
Mm-hmm. Shake.
Right.
Right.
Wait a minute, what about the 3rd sheet of paper?
May gets that.
Oh.
Look at her, Della.
Yes, I see. She just looks...
Bad, yes. Now, let us take her mind off Mr. Apt and his evidence. She can be umpire, keep score, and settle any disputes.
Okay. You know why she looks especially down today, don't you, Chief?
Hmm?
Today is Dory's birthday.
Today?
Yeah.
Oh. All the more reason. She keeps on looking whipped, she'll be whipped.
That's right.
Take this page to her, And make sure she's got a pencil. And don't try to get around her. I want a fair and impartial referee.
Tell us your name and address, please.
Pratt. Frederick Pratt, Chicago, Illinois.
And your occupation, Mr. Pratt?
I manage a restaurant near the Chicago Air Terminal.
Now, Mr. Pratt, what you're about to tell us is a thing you saw yourself. Simple but important.
What?
Eh?
This chair squeaks.
Oh, never mind that now.
Yes, but don't you think that...
Mr. Pratt,
Yes, sir.
have you ever seen the defendant before?
I saw her. She came into the restaurant the night of the 17th.
Tell us just what you saw.
Well, this fellow Blank and Mr. Carlo and the kid were all in booth number 12. That's a back booth.
You knew them?
No, but when you showed me their pictures, I remembered.
Very well, go on.
It was after midnight. That's our rush time. I was busy and didn't notice anybody in the booth. Well, not at first. Except that a man and a woman and a kid were in it.
And then what happened?
Well, all of a sudden, a woman let out a yell. I looked over and I saw this Mrs. Grant
Where was she?
standing in front of the booth. She hollered something like, there you are, or I found you. I don't remember the exact words, but...
What did you do?
Well, I thought something was wrong, so I headed over to stop it, if there was going to be a disturbance. Well, then I felt kind of foolish.
No?
She didn't need any help. She was doing okay.
What do you mean?
By the time I got over there, Mrs. Grant and this guy Blank, they were hugging and kissing and...
Oh.
Yeah, they were in a big clinch.
Ah.
Well, I'd gone charging over there like Galahad to the rescue, so I had to say something.
Yes, of course.
And she had yelled out. So, after a while, when they came up for air...
Well, go on.
Well, I said, anything the matter, lady? Which was a foolish question because anybody could see there was nothing the matter.
And what did Mrs. Grant say?
She didn't make any complaint.
No.
Seems they got separated in the terminal, and Auntie May, they called her Auntie May, was so happy to see the guy.
She kissed him?
Just a moment. That's a leading question.
Rephrase it then, Mr. Mason. They were kissing.
It looked mutual to me.
And let me ask, did Mrs. Grant seem afraid, frightened at all?
Oh, everything was fine and dandy.
And the little girl, was she all right?
Oh, sure. She was drinking a glass of hot milk. Yeah, everything was hunky-dory, Mr. Rapp. Love and kisses.
Now, that's all, Mr. Pratt. Your witness, Mason.
No questions.
What?
No questions, Mr. Apt.
Oh. Well, since it's getting late, Your Honor, I move we recess until tomorrow morning. Well, have you any objections, Mr. Mason?
No objections.
So ordered. Court recessed until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
It was 2, Perry
Now,
Mason.
now, Della.
8 single squeaks and 15 doubles. That's 7 more doubles.
Della, you can't count 2 of my singles
Now,
and one of your doubles.
Listen, you owe me 70 cents, Perry Mason, and don't you try to get out of it. Now, that's what you...
All right, Della. Take our tally sheets to the referee. We will abide by May's decision. Here comes Apt. Tell May I'll see her later.
You just wait. You'll see that I'm right.
We will let the judge settle it for us.
Oh.
Why are you going to have the judge settle, Mr. Mason?
Oh, it's Mr. Apt.
Well, so it is.
Yeah. Little argument with your staff, Mason?
Call it a dispute.
Yeah, what did you...
Take those pages to the judge before Mr. Apt strains his eyes, Della. We'll get our answers later.
Yes, sir.
You're changing your strategy, Mason.
I am?
You didn't cross-examine Lillian Morrison. You only asked that chambermaid a question or two. You didn't cross-examine this last witness at all.
We'll know the score this afternoon, Mr. Mason.
Oh, fine.
Yes, Mason, I've been watching you.
Well, this man is on the alert, Della.
Oh, right in there pitching all the time.
He noticed that I didn't cross-examine Mr. Pratt.
Oh?
He wonders why.
Oh.
I think I'll tell him.
Why, Chief, you're tipping your strategy.
Well, I think he deserves it. Come here a moment, Apt. I'll show you why I didn't dare cross-examine Pratt. Now, if you'll just sit here in the witness chair, Apt. Go on.
No. All right, Mason.
Now, notice this chair, if you please.
What about it?
It squeaks.
And not only a single squeak, Mr. Apt, but this is a deluxe chair. Single and double squeak.
And do you know something, Mr. Apt? Now, please listen carefully, because I am explaining my strategy. When you finished with Mr. Pratt, the chair had squeaked 15 double squeaks, but only 8 singles.
Really?
And I had the singles. Miss Street had the doubles. Well, you can see, Mr. Apt. As it was, I was losing the chair. Why, I might have gone on and on and on.
Oh.
I'm sure that you would have done the same thing had you been in my shoes. Dollars are hard to come by these days.
Very amusing, Mr. Mason. I hope you'll keep on being amused.
Oh, we'll try, Mr. Apt. We'll try real hard.
Ah, lovely smile, Miss Street.
Thank you.
I wonder if you'll wear it long,
Well,
especially if you knew my strategy. If you knew what I'm thinking about right now. Good day, Mr. Mason, Miss
Okay.
Street.
goodbye. Perry,
There is a keen lad.
I think he is going to pull a rabbit out of the hat.
More likely an axe.
Yes, but then why tell you?
Well, Mr. Apt is gouging in the clinches. He wants me to worry.
Oh?
Yes, a keen lad. He got what he wanted.
Are you worried?
Yes, about more than 70 cents. And about more than Paul's $2.50. Oh, well. Look, how about doing some birthday shopping for Dory, huh? You can use some of your winnings. And then how would you like to meet me in the conference room of the jail?
Well, I can tell you this. Perry Mason's hunch is right. There is reason to worry. Because Mr. Apt is about to spring a new bit of strategy. But more of that tomorrow, so won't you be sure and join us? It's early evening, some hours after the trial of State versus May Grant adjourned, as Perry Mason and Della drive towards the Grant home to help celebrate Dory's 6th birthday. We'll join Perry and Della in a few moments. But first, let's go to the apartment house on Baker Street, where Kitty DiCarlo has been living under the watchful eye of Anna B. Hurley. And let's join Mr. Frederick Apt, prosecutor, as in the corridor outside Kitty's apartment, he stops to admire himself in the hall mirror, shifts the package he carries to his other arm, removes his hat, makes certain his hair is combed smoothly, then...
a second.
All right.
Huh? Oh, Mr. App. Well.
Good evening, my dear. I'm not disturbing you.
Oh, no. I wasn't expecting company.
Ah, you look very nice.
Oh, you've seen these hostess pajamas before.
Indeed, I have. Indeed, I have.
Oh, please, come in. I was so surprised to see you. I forgot my manners.
Oh, thanks.
I'll take your coat.
Thank you.
And that package.
Oh, no, I'll just put it here on the table.
All right.
I'm glad you're alone, my dear.
Mm-hmm. It's nice. I mean, being with you.
Cozy.
Very cozy.
That's why I hate to... Oh, let's sit down, shall we? And, my dear, I think it best if you sit beside me.
On the couch, Mr. Abbott?
Why, yes. I have some rather unpleasant news for you. No, it's nothing too important, but still disturbing.
What news?
Come, sit down, huh?
All right.
There we are.
Are you comfortable?
Very comfortable. And this is pleasant. Very, very pleasant.
Mm-hmm. Now, what did you
Sometimes
start...
I resent the affairs of the world. I really do.
What?
Well, those affairs intrude.
Oh.
But we have our duty.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how unpleasant our duty, we mustn't shirk it.
What are you trying to tell me, Mr. Abt?
Yeah, about unpleasantness. I'm sorry I have to tell you. This day of all days.
This day?
I know where your thoughts have been all this day, my dear.
You do?
On your little girl.
What?
You didn't think I'd forget her birthday. I never forget a date, my dear.
Oh.
I remember saying it on the record.
Well, I've tried not to think of it.
No.
I try not to think of Dari at all.
Poor lady, poor lady.
Oh, it's sweet of you to remember.
I'm a most considerate man to some people, my dear. As you shall learn. For instance, you know what's in that package?
No.
Ice cream.
Ice cream?
Well, sherbet, actually. And little cupcakes.
How nice.
I like cupcakes. I thought we might have a quiet celebration.
That was thoughtful of you.
No, but that isn't all.
No?
No, I brought an extra special treat. We can have the sherbet and cupcakes as sort of a party for your daughter. Then, a little later on, that is, if you aren't too tired, there's a bottle of sparkling burgundy in the package.
Well.
You see? I'm a most considerate man, my dear. You've behaved yourself beautifully. You deserve a celebration, too.
Oh, you're a surprising guy, Mr. App.
A thoughtful man, Mr. Carlo. Does my idea of a pleasant evening please you?
But just a second.
Yeah?
What about that disturbing news?
No hurry.
I know, but just...
We'll make us some coffee first, hmm?
Well...
I'd like some coffee.
Okay. Maybe I'd better put that other stuff on ice.
Oh, it isn't necessary.
Well, the room's warm. The ice cream,
We'll
it's
keep.
gonna...
I had it packed.
Oh.
Oh, yes. Dry ice.
Oh.
Now, let's have some coffee. And then, shall we talk?
Oh, honestly, this is the nicest birthday party I've ever had.
Oh, we're glad, honey.
The nicest presents and... Oh, Mr. Mason, if only...
I know, Dory. Everything would be just perfect if your mommy were here.
Yes, that's it.
Well, I have a little surprise for you, Dory.
Oh, what?
Maybe I better help Bill with the coffee. Here, I'll just take our cups.
What's the surprise, Mr. Mason?
It's a record. A record that you can play on your phonograph.
You want more coffee, Perry?
Yes, please, Della. I'm giving the record to Dory now.
Yes, I'll be right back.
Where is your record player, Dory?
Over there. Is it music, Mr. Mason?
You wait and see.
All right. Can I play it now?
Yes, of course, it's yours.
Can I put it on myself?
Well, if you'll be extra careful.
Oh, I will.
Oh, just a second, Dory.
Yes, Mr. Mason?
You understand, don't you? I mean, you understand why your mommy can't be here with you?
Well, I know she can't.
But you understand she is thinking of you and wishing she were here with you.
I wish she were here too, Mr. Mason.
Well, maybe we can almost have her here.
Like magic?
Something like magic. Now, you play the record, honey.
Hello, Dory.
Mommy.
Happy birthday, darling.
Thank you, Mommy. It's Mommy.
Mommy
talking.
wishes she could be with you, darling. But I know that Daddy and Mr. Mason have explained.
Did Mommy?
And I know that you had the nicest party and the nicest presents.
Yes.
And that you and Mr. Mason and Della and Daddy had the best ice cream and cake. You didn't let Daddy eat too much, did you, darling? Did you? You've got to take care of Daddy.
I will, Mommy.
And Daddy and Mr. Mason and Della, they'll take care of you.
Yes.
And, Dory, I want you to know Mommy's thinking about you. That she loves you.
I love you.
Did you know that I was making some new clothing for Manuel Jr.? I've been so very busy, I haven't finished, but you'll get them tomorrow or the next day. Here? No, I've got to say nighty-night, baby. And happy birthday. And let's sing it, hmm? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dory. Happy birthday to you. Good night, darling.
Oh, Mommy. Are you going to see Mommy tonight, Mr. Mason?
Well, yes, for a minute. We're going back to the... we're going where she is and tell her about your party.
Will you take her a big kiss for me?
Oh, sure. Come on, give me...
Bend over so I can reach.
Oh.
There.
Why, Mr. Mason.
Do you mind if I play my record again?
Now, you go right ahead.
What was the kiss for, Perry?
Take back to May.
Oh. You had a real nice idea, Mr. Mason, you old sentimentalist.
Oh, now, Della.
Sending me out shopping while you had May make that record. I know you. But it was real considerate, Perry. Very thoughtful.
Ah, you say that to all your bosses.
I think Dory had a very good idea. Bend over, Counselor. You deserve a nice fat...
Oh, saved by the bell.
Darn.
I'll get it, Bill.
Mr. Grant?
Why, no, I'm...
This is the Grant house, right?
Why,
I checked the address.
All right, this is the Grant address. I'm Perry Mason.
Perry Oh, our lawyer.
You've got a message from Mr. Grant.
You'll do. You can take this message.
What?
From Mr. Apt. Special greeting from Mr. Apt. See this? This piece of paper says for Mr. William Grant to deliver the child known as Dory Grant to court in the morning. You want I should read the fine print, or you got it?
I got it.
Okay. Birthday party, huh?
Yes, the child known as Dory Grant.
Yeah? Well, happy birthday.
What was it, Perry?
Greetings from Mr. Apt. Greetings and a birthday present. He subpoenaed Dory.
Oh, Perry. That child. That poor baby.
You know what he said, Della?
What?
The man said happy birthday. All right, Della, let's go deliver Mr. Apt's present.
Yes, Mr. Apt is a most thoughtful man. A man who thinks about his duty and his ambitions, and who is letting absolutely nothing stand in the way of getting May Grant convicted for murder, even if it means dragging an innocent, vulnerable little girl before a grim court of law. Well, join us tomorrow, won't you? It's 9 p.m, more than an hour after the close of our last episode. As in the conference room of the city woman's prison...
Oh, there she is.
Yes.
Thank you, Josie. Hello, Mr. Mason. Della?
May.
Sit down, May.
Josie says I'm a privileged character.
Oh?
Having conference with my lawyer any time of the day or night.
Josie's feet must be bothering her.
Tell me about the party. Did Dory enjoy your presents? Was she happy? And, oh, just tell me everything.
Oh, it was a wonderful birthday party, May. The finest birthday party ever.
And Dory, did she...
She had a wonderful time.
I'm so glad.
She loved all her presents. Everything would have been just perfect if you'd been there. But the recording you made for her was almost as good.
Did she understand about the doll clothes? I'm making new clothes for Manuel Jr., but they're not quite finished.
Yes, she understood. May...
Since you were sweet enough to stop by and tell me about it, tell me everything.
how Dory looked, how Bill looked, and... What's the matter?
May,
Something is the matter. I can tell by the way... Mr. Mason.
Apt has subpoenaed Dory.
Subpoenaed?
She's to testify in court tomorrow morning.
Oh.
At least the process server waited to come until after the ice cream.
I'll see her.
What?
Tomorrow morning. In just a few hours, I'll see her.
May.
Yes, you'll see her all right.
I know what you're thinking, and you're right, but it is terrible. Dory has to appear in court.
For Dory's sake.
Well, of course.
I agree with you. I don't like it for your sake either.
But, Mr. Mason, I'll see her.
May, we know that Apt might call Dory, and now that he has called her...
I'll get to see her.
You have to understand why he's called her, May.
It was not to give you pleasure.
Oh?
You have to understand and prepare yourself. Apt has subpoenaed Dory for the same reason that he'd call any other witness. He thinks Dory will help put you in the electric chair.
Mr. Mason. Why, if anything, whatever Dory might say would help me.
You think so?
Dory was with me almost every minute, Mr. Mason. She hated Marcel Blanc. She hates Kitty.
Yes?
And Dory loves me, Mr. Mason.
Just as you love her.
Yes. Dory isn't flesh of my flesh, but our love has made us just that close.
May, you've missed the point. Do you think Apt is a fool?
Well, no, he's a man who... No. Whatever he is, he's not a fool.
Don't you think that Apt knows how Dory feels about you?
I don't want to think what you're thinking, Mr. Mason.
Well, then that's too bad. Because, well, look, conducting your defense has been like walking a tightrope. Apt has thrown a lot of stuff at us, but we have managed to keep our balance.
Perry can answer most of Apt's evidence with our evidence, May.
Apt knows that as well as I do. He has got to knock us off the tightrope as fast as he can. Now, you love Dory. She loves you. But somebody you love can trip you just as quickly as somebody you hate.
You think Dory's going to trip me?
Apt is not a fool. He wants to knock us over. He's called Dory. You figure it out. Now it's time to look a few facts in the face.
All right, Mr. Mason.
May, we understand that Dory won't want to hurt you.
It's all right. Go on, Mr. Mason.
No, it's just after 9 o'clock, and there's plenty of time for us to go over the whole thing again.
Everything that's happened, May. Everything that Dory could have seen.
Well, I've already told you twice.
And those notes are typed and filed.
Well, then why...
We want you to tell us again, May. Go over it all again, then we'll take the new notes and compare them with the others.
You just might have left something out.
Mr. Mason, if you're so sure that Dory's testimony is going to hurt me, why bother with all this?
Why? Oh. I have been talking about what Mr. Apt wants, May, not what we want. What we want is to trip Mr. Apt, just as badly as he wants to trip us.
And he can be tripped, too. And by somebody that he loves.
Who does he love?
Mr. Apt loves Mr. Apt. Now, Mr. Apt has had everything coming his way. I mean, everything he has wanted. But if we dig deep enough, I'll find something to throw at him and knock him off his tightrope. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Why the smile?
In spite of everything, I agree with Josie.
Hmm?
I am a privileged character. I'm going to see Dory in the morning.
Well, let's get to work.
Well, let me strike a match for you, my dear.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you, Mr. Apt. Pour us another glass of burgundy.
No, thank you. One glass is my limit tonight. Tomorrow's an important day in court.
Yeah. Do you care if
Well, one more, eh? But don't forget, tomorrow's important for you, too.
I won't forget.
You'll see your little daughter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't drink that too rapidly, my dear.
It's not strong enough to bother me.
Well...
Mr. Apt.
Here, let me put the couch pillow behind you.
I don't want to lean back.
Oh?
Mr. Apt, do you have to put Dory on the stand? I mean, would they make you just because you subpoenaed her?
Why, no, I don't have to. Why?
Well, Dari was right there in that apartment with May Grant and me.
I know.
And, of course, Marcel was coming in all the time.
I know.
And May Grant hates me, Mr. Apt. She's hated me ever since she stole my baby. She hated me even more after she went with Marcel and me. You know why.
I know. So?
So, well, you can teach a dog to hate somebody.
What?
You could. You could teach a dog to hate somebody. And May Grant taught Dari just as hard as she knew how, Mr. Apt.
Oh.
Every chance she got, she made Dari hate me.
Oh, now, my dear.
But she did. I know she did.
Well, I understand.
And that's why I'm wondering
Just what are you wondering, Mr. Carlo?
about putting Dari on the stand. That brat kid hates me. I mean, she's learned to hate me.
It doesn't matter.
But
It doesn't matter.
you don't know what they've got her primed to say. No. Well, they can make her say awful things.
She won't get a chance to say them.
Hmm?
She won't get a chance to say them. Listen, oh, wait.
Where are you going?
Turn off the sentimental music. There's no place for sentiment in my thinking about Dory.
No? Change your mind about having more wine?
Just a small glass. I've got to give you a blunt fact, my dear. Yes, a brutal fact.
Yeah?
And no matter how painful this fact is to you, it is my duty.
Let's have it.
Now, you think of Dory as your child. Flesh of your flesh, the dearest person on earth to you.
Yeah, sure.
But I do not allow myself to feel that way.
You don't like her?
I neither like her nor do I dislike her. To me, she's a thing to use.
Oh.
A weapon.
Yeah, like a gun. That's what I'm saying. She might turn against us.
No.
You keep saying that,
Because
but
I'm not worried. I know how to use my weapons, my dear. Now, this weapon has a safety.
Hmm?
Just that, a safety. Suppose the child doesn't react as I want her to. Suppose she does start giving unfortunate testimony.
Yeah.
I can always stop her. Now, I warn you, if I do have to stop her, it won't be pleasant for you. And it will be hard, oh, very hard on the little girl.
But you can do it.
I can do it, if it becomes necessary. I can smash her completely.
Yeah?
At any time I choose. I can make it impossible for her to continue. If it becomes necessary, of course.
Oh, yeah, of course. What would you do? Would you make her sick or something like that?
Oh, not at all, not at all. Psychology, my dear. Psychology.
Oh. But you can stop her.
Oh, yes. I hope, I do hope it won't become necessary. But no one, not even a child, can stand in the way of justice. You'll see, my dear, you'll see. When we see Dory in the morning.
Well, even if Perry Mason is successful, even if he does find a way to turn Dory's testimony to May's advantage, Mr. Apt is confident that that is a situation he can handle, even if the handling is a little rough on the child named Dory. But more of that tomorrow, so be sure to join us. It's almost 10 in the morning, and the day is lovely, bright, sunny. Even the grim and formal courtroom is a little warmer, more cheerful, with the sunlight coming through the windows. To May Grant, the day would be lovely even if the sky were gray with clouds. You see, May didn't sleep much last night, waiting for this day. And right now, as the guard leads her towards the defense table, as she sees her attorney...
Mr. Mason. Mr. Mason.
Hello, May.
May. Well, what's that you've got in your hand?
My present for Dari. Josie got me some paper to gift wrap it, and has Dari come yet? Is she here?
Not yet, May.
Oh, I can't wait to see her.
Sit down, May.
I asked Josie to get pink ribbon, but all she could get was blue. Do you think blue's all right?
Oh, I'm sure the blue's fine.
I know her birthday was yesterday, but I didn't finish the doll clothes until... Well, I didn't sleep much last night.
Neither did we, May.
Oh, you went back to your office? You worked late?
It was worth it, May.
I'm sorry. I've been so full of waiting to see Dari.
You forgot the warning we gave you.
Since you told me Dari was going to testify, I haven't thought of anything but... You know.
Yes, we do.
Well, while we have a moment, I think we found something, May.
Oh?
I think we have found something in what you told us about Dory and you in that apartment.
To use if Dory should say anything, well, damaging?
Something to use anyhow. And, May, you'd better get set to hear Dory say something damaging.
I suppose Mr. Apt will try to twist her words.
Depend on it, he will. And that's why... May, you won't see Dory before she gets on the stand.
Not see it? But a present. And...
You'll have to give it to her later.
But
That's the way it will have to be, May.
I'm trying to understand, Mr. Mason. I know you know what's right, but I've been so lonely for her. So, but if you say I can't...
Mr. Apt won't let you, May.
Oh, I see. I was being selfish and silly, wasn't I?
Oh, of course not. We understand.
Here they come.
Oh, look at her. Oh, look at her.
Yes, she's darling, May.
Do you think so? Do you really think so? She does... Oh, I can't help it. She does it. And she's grown. She has. Just in these past few weeks. Oh, look at her. Look at Bill walking beside her, so proud and so... She see me. She... Hello? Hello, darling. Hello, darling. Mommy sees you, darling. Mommy sees you. She's waving at me. She... Oh, they're turning the other way.
Give me a handkerchief, Perry.
Hmm? Oh, yes. Here.
May.
No, don't say anything to her. Just give her the handkerchief.
Here you are, May.
Thank you.
She'll be all right in a minute, Chief. Dory does look awfully sweet, doesn't she, Perry?
Mm-hmm. How does Apt look?
No, he's very sweet, too. You'd think that Dory was his favorite niece. I'd just like to hear what he's saying to her.
Well, we'll all hear in just a moment. Della, talk to May, will you? See if she's straightened out.
Dorothy, look at the door over there. That's where the jury is coming in. And that's where the jury... See them? See those people who... Dorothy,
She waved at me. Did you see my mommy wave at me, Mr. Apt?
Yes, I saw her.
Couldn't I just...
Now, child, I explained.
But couldn't I just see her for a minute?
You can see her.
I mean, go...
You can see her.
Oh, all right.
Dorothy,
Yes, Mr. Apt.
you'd like to talk to your mommy very much, hmm? You'd like that? Like to go put your arms around her and kiss her?
Yes.
Then I'll tell you what.
Thank you, Mr. Apt. Thank
Now,
you.
wait a minute.
But you said...
I said wait. Now, Dory, in just a minute, you're going to go up there and sit in that chair. The one with the steps going up to it.
Oh, my
Now,
mommy...
look at that chair, Dorothy. Now, Mr. Apt is going to make you a promise. If you sit in that chair like a big girl and answer the questions I'm going to ask you, then I promise you can kiss your mommy and hug her all you want to.
You promise?
If you answer the questions like a good girl. Will you remember? Do you promise?
All right. I promise.
All right, child. Walk up to the chair with me. And hold my hand. Yeah, hold my hand. Yeah, that's right. Come, Dory. Come, don't make me pull you. Ah, that's my girl. Now up the steps. Here, let me help you.
I can do it.
Let me help you. There. Now, comfortable?
It's an awful big chair.
Yes. Oh, Your Honor, as you can see, this witness is a mere child. I must request that the room be silent. I don't want our little lady to be afraid. Don't be afraid, child.
I'm not afraid. Hello, Mommy.
Remember our promise, Dorothy. Now, since this child is of such tender years, I move that the oath not be administered.
No objection.
I shall merely see if... how old are you, Dorothy?
I'm 6 years old. I had a birthday yesterday.
You did? But tell all these nice people your name.
Dory?
No, all of your name.
Oh. Dorothy May Grant. Just like my mommy's.
Now, Dorothy, a big girl like you ought to know what the truth is.
What?
I say you should know that a good girl tells the truth, And only a bad girl tells lies.
Lies?
Well, don't you know it's bad to lie?
I know it's bad to tell stories.
Ah.
Is a story a lie, Mr. Apt?
A story is a lie.
Oh.
Now, my dear, all these nice people want to hear some things about you.
They do?
Indeed, they do. For instance, who is your mommy, Dorothy?
Well, she's sitting right over there with Mr. Mason.
Now, just a moment, child, just a moment. What is that lady's name?
Mommy.
No. What does Mr. Grant call her?
Daddy?
The man you call Daddy.
Oh. Well, he calls her darling.
No. What is her name?
Dorothy May Grant. Just like mine, I told you.
And now, my dear, do you know that lady over there in the black dress? Now, what's her name?
That's Mr. Carlo.
Mr. Carlo. And what did May Grant tell you to call Mr. Carlo?
Well, Mommy said to call her Mommy, too. I never could remember.
Did May Grant tell you that Mr. Carlo was your real mommy?
But she
Well,
really...
for the sake of simplicity, we'll drop that for the moment.
All right.
Now, I'm going to ask you some questions about May Grant and you. Is that all right?
Uh-huh.
You'll answer me?
Uh-huh.
And tell the truth.
Yes.
You love May Grant, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Very much?
Lots and lots. I love you, Mommy.
Now, remember our promise.
Yes, Mr. Act.
Now, Dorothy, even though you do love the woman you call Mommy, will you tell the truth?
What?
I mean, well, what if she had on a dress that you didn't like?
I like all her dresses.
Well, what if she got you a toy and you didn't like it? Would you tell her?
But I always do like the toys she gets me. And Daddy's, too.
But let's pretend, shall we? Let's pretend that she did get you a toy and you didn't like it. Now, do you understand?
Well, you're just pretending.
Uh-huh. And if she asked you if you did like that toy, what would you tell her?
If I really didn't like it.
That's right. What would you say?
Well, I just have to say that I was sorry, but I didn't like it.
Ah, then you'll tell us the truth, no matter if you hurt her feelings?
I have to tell the truth, Mr. Apt.
Well, of course you do, my dear. Of course you have to tell the truth. Do you know, Dorothy, you and I are going to be lovely friends. Lovely. Now, Dorothy, I'm going to start asking those questions.
Well, the day that started out so beautifully for May Grant seems to suit Prosecutor Apt as well. Unknown to Perry Mason, Apt has boasted that if Dory should start giving damaging testimony, he can always stop her, even if the stopping is hard on the child. Be sure to join us on Monday by all means, won't you? It's immediately after the close of our last episode. Prosecutor Frederick Apt has just put Dory Grant on the stand and is about to question her.
Dorothy.
Oh, just a moment, Mr. Apt.
Yes, Your Honor?
I have a small word for the spectators. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to hear what this witness is about to say. The jury wants to hear. She's a little girl, and this is a big room. Unless you're quiet, we can't hear. Is that reasonable? All right. Now, Dory, I think we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Dorothy. Are you ready to answer my questions now?
Uh-huh.
Remember, you're going to be a big girl and tell the truth.
Uh-huh.
Even if it hurts somebody you love.
You talking about Mommy?
Well, let's say I mean Mrs. Grant or anyone else.
I wouldn't hurt my Mommy.
Yeah, stick to the point, Dorothy. Are you going to tell us the truth?
Uh-huh.
Well, now. Dorothy, we're going to talk about the time that you and Mrs. Grant lived with Mr. Carlo.
Oh,
You remember the time I mean?
I remember. In the apartment where he used to come to see her all the time.
He? Oh, Mr. Blanc.
Yes.
That's right. Dorothy, will you answer my questions now truthfully? Let's see how well you remember. You and Mrs. Grant met Mr. Carlo and Mr. Blanc in another city.
Uh-huh.
Then you came to this city and went to an apartment?
Uh-huh. We saw them in Chicago.
In Chicago? Oh, now there's a bright girl. Now, my dear, I want to know what you did in that apartment.
What?
Well, were you shut up there all the time? Were you cold and hungry? Or were you given plenty of good food and warm clothing? And did you have all the toys that any little girl could possibly want to play with?
That's right.
No, you tell us.
They gave me lots of toys.
They? Who?
Mr. Blanc and her.
Mr. Carlo?
Yes, but I didn't...
Dorothy, what did Mr. Carlo give you to play with?
Oh, a dollhouse and a washing machine.
Why, weren't those nice toys? A dollhouse? You must have had a doll.
Oh, yes. He was my favorite toy of all.
Well.
Manuel Jr. Well, he's right over there on your table.
Oh, is this Manuel Jr.?
Uh-huh. Could I have him, please? There's lots of room in this chair.
Why, of course you may, child. Hey, he looks like a Spanish doll. Now, here you are.
Thank you. No, Manuel Jr.'s a Mexican doll. Sit still, Manuel Jr.
So you had all those nice things to play with. Well, it must have been fun in the apartment.
No.
But with all those toys.
I didn't play with them.
What? Oh, but Dorothy, you just told us that doll was your favorite.
Mommy gave me Manuel Jr. I didn't like their toys.
Oh. Well, to get on.
She tried to make me play with them, but I wouldn't.
Dorothy.
She wanted to throw Manuel Jr. away, but Mommy wouldn't let her.
Dorothy, I remind you once again not to speak except to answer questions.
I was only trying to...
Only an answer to questions. Now, pay attention.
Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Mason?
I'd like to call to the attention of the court the fact that this child is only 6 years old.
The court is well aware of Dorothy's age, Mr. Mason.
Thank you, Your Honor.
She's old enough to follow instructions.
Just take it easy, Mr. Apt.
Mr. Apt will take it easy, Mr. Mason. You needn't fear on that score.
Your Honor, I'm laboring under difficulties with a witness of this age.
What's he saying, Mr. Mason?
That it's all right, Dory.
But everybody's getting mad.
It's all right, Dory.
It will be when you sit down, Mr. Mason.
Mommy? Could I go to Mommy?
Your Honor, can't you possibly...
Yes, I believe I can. Dorothy. Dory.
Yes, sir.
Everybody was getting mad, huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm not mad.
You aren't?
Not a bit. As long as we keep order. How would you like to come and sit up here? Would you like that?
Way up there with you?
There's plenty of room on this chair.
Will he still ask questions?
Well, in a minute, but you and I are going to have a talk first.
Oh, I brought Manuel Jr.
Well, that's fine. There's plenty of room for him, too. There now.
Oh, we're so high. He doesn't look so big now.
I know, dear. Things have a way of leveling out from where we're sitting.
I don't understand.
No, never mind.
Yes, sir.
Don't you know my name?
Oh, I know it. But it's awful hard to say.
Do you think so? Well, try it.
All right. Yes, sir. Mr. Your Honor.
What?
Mr. Your Honor? That's what Mr. Mason called you. Oh, will you really hit them with that hammer if they don't...
Well, it's an idea, honey. But now we've got to answer Mr. Apt's question, shall we?
All right.
Go ahead, Mr. Apt.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The jury should know what happened in that apartment.
Yes, sir. That's why
If you please. The way those people felt toward one another is important. The way this child felt about them is also important. If she wants to tell about it, don't try to stop her. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sir. Very clear. And since the jury should know... Dorothy.
Yes?
Suppose you just tell us how you felt about Mr. Blanc and Mr. Carlo. Did you like them?
No.
Even after they bought you those nice, expensive toys?
No. They didn't like me either.
Now, just a moment. You mean you don't think they liked you?
They didn't.
I'll go on to the next point, but I remind the jury this child is expressing an opinion.
What's he saying, Mr. Your Honor?
Well, never mind, my dear. Just answer his question.
About Mrs. Grant, Dorothy. You did love her.
I do love Mommy.
But
Just a moment, Your Honor. Mr. Apt has come.
if you please, Mr. Mason, the fact that this child learned to dislike Mr. Carlo and Mr. Blanc, and that she did love her so-called foster mother is most important. It gives weight to her entire testimony.
Objection overruled. Answer him, Dory.
What did he say?
Did you love your Mrs. Grant while you lived in the apartment?
I've always loved her, just like she loves me.
Yeah. But Dorothy, do you remember the last night you stayed in the apartment? The night before you went home?
I remember.
Who put you to bed that night?
Mommy. Mommy always did.
And tell us what happened.
Mommy talked to me, and I went to sleep.
And when you woke up?
Oh,
Well, just tell us what happened. Was Mrs. Grant with you?
no.
Where was she?
She was gone out of the bedroom.
You don't know what woke you up?
She was gone. I called to her.
How many times?
I called, and she answered me.
Oh, what did she say?
She told me to stay in the bedroom, but I didn't mind her.
No, wait just a moment. She told you not to come out of the bedroom?
But I didn't mind her. I was scared. I went out in the hall. But I did put my slippers on.
Now, Dory, think carefully. What did you see when you went into the hall?
I saw Mommy. She was coming back from the living room.
And what did you see her do?
She stopped in front of the linen closet.
Did she see you?
No, I didn't say anything. She told me to stay in bed, but
Well, go on, child. What did she do?
she opened the door and stuck something in the sheets.
Now, Dory, did you see what it was?
Yes.
What, Dorothy? What was she hiding?
It was a toy.
What?
A toy pistol.
Oh, a toy pistol. Now, you're sure it wasn't a real pistol?
No, I've seen real pistols at cowboy shows. And Daddy's got a real pistol. Real pistols are big.
Oh.
This was a teensy-tiny pistol, so I knew it was a toy.
Look here, Dory. Look at this. Hey, look at what I have here in my hand. Do you know what this is?
Oh, that's it, the little toy pistol.
The little toy pistol. The little toy pistol with a tag on it. Of course, you can't read this tag.
I can't read.
No, you're too little. But you're big enough to remember, aren't you? Big enough to remember that this is the pistol you saw Mrs. Grant hiding.
Yes, the little toy pistol.
The little toy pistol that put 6 little holes in... 6 tiny holes. Tiny, but oh, so deadly. Little things can be deadly things, can't they, child?
What's he saying, Mr. Your Honor? I don't know what he's saying.
Never mind, Dorothy. You don't, but the rest of us do. I mean about the little deadly things. Well, let's get on, shall we?
Well, perhaps Mr. Apt did take a chance putting Dory on the stand, but the chance seems to be paying off. In her innocence, Dory appears to be helping strap the woman she calls Mommy right into the electric chair, doesn't she? But more of this tomorrow, so join us by all means, won't you? Prosecutor Frederick Apt would be highly displeased if you called him a gambling man. But whether he thought of it as a gamble or dressed it up and called it a calculated risk, Mr. Apt knew he was taking a chance when he summoned Dory to give her testimony before open court. And right now, as Apt stands before Judge Selby's bench, as he looks at the golden-haired little girl who sits trustingly beside the judge, Mr. Apt is experiencing the thrill of a man whose gamble is paying off. Now the prosecutor lifts his hand again, so Dory can see the object he's holding, and...
Dorothy, I'm going to ask you once again. Do you know what this is I'm holding up to you?
It's a toy pistol.
The pistol you saw Mrs. Grant hiding?
Yes, the toy pistol.
Toy? You aren't looking closely enough. Perhaps you'd better come down here.
No.
But
I want to stay up here with Mr. Your Honor. Can I stay up here with you, Mr. Your Honor?
It's all right, Dorothy. You don't have to come down. I just wanted you to be sure that it's the same gun.
Your Honor, I object. Dory can look at that gun all day without being positive it's the same.
I'll rephrase the question. This looks like the same gun?
Uh-huh. Hello, Mr. Mason.
Hello, Dory.
Now, just to clear the records, this gun is tagged with the initials of Police Lieutenant Arthur Tragg. It is the same gun this girl saw Mrs. Grant hiding. The same gun that put 6 holes in the deceased.
Is it a real gun?
Of course it is. Yes, Dorothy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have here the statement, the sworn statement, given by Mrs. Grant to the police the night of the murder. Now, each page of this statement was initialed by Mrs. Grant. The complete statement is signed in full. I offer this document as evidence.
Objections.
This is a curious document, ladies and gentlemen. But that was a curious situation in the murder apartment. Curious and unhealthy. The state contends that Mrs. Grant was in that apartment with this child and the child's real mother for 2 reasons. One, she hoped to get her hands on the huge estate to which this child is heir.
What's she saying, Mr. Your Honor?
2, Mrs. Grant was in that apartment because Marcel Blanc, whom she loved, was a frequent visitor. Further, the state contends that May Grant's motive for murder grew out of these 2 reasons. She saw the money she coveted slipping away from her, and she saw the man she coveted, another woman's husband, mind you, slipping away from her, too.
Your Honor.
What, an objection, Mr. Mason?
Just be sure you make it plain that what you said is the state's theory, not necessarily the true facts.
Not until proven.
That's right.
I'm going to be fair, Mr. Mason. Oh, yes, very fair indeed. I'm going to tell the jury what Mrs. Grant claims was the true situation. Now, according to her statement, she didn't love Marcel Blanc. She was deathly afraid of him. She was a prisoner. Oh, I don't wonder you're amazed, but listen to the reason that Mrs. Grant says she feared him. Mrs. Grant claims that Mr. Blanc was going to have her killed. That's right, she said Blanc intended to have her assassinated. She claimed she was to be killed the very night that Blanc was shot and killed. Amazing, isn't it? That the man she greeted with a fervent kiss before a restaurant full of people, that man whom she pleaded with to take her with him, that man whom the chambermaid heard May Grant say she would follow on her hands and knees, that's the man she feared with a deathly fear, who she said was keeping her a prisoner. Amazing. But there's more to her statement than that. Oh, yes. According to her story, Blanc gave her permission to tell this child goodbye, and then she was to be taken out and killed. But something happened. Oh, she doesn't know what, but something happened. Someone, she said, came into the apartment and shot Blanc and left. You're about to see how amazing her story is. Dorothy.
Yes, Mr. Apt.
You didn't understand a lot of what I just said.
No.
Now we'll talk about something you do understand. That last night in the apartment. What happened at bedtime, Dorothy?
Mommy put me to bed.
Go on. Tell us what happened. What was different about that night?
Different? Oh, Mommy was going away.
She told you?
Mommy told me and he told me.
Mr. Blanc?
He told me, too. He told me Mommy was going home to Daddy.
Now, just a moment. Mrs. Grant was there when he said so?
Uh-huh. Right by my bed.
And what did she say when he said she was going home?
Nothing. He said it.
Well, what happened after that? Did Mr. Blanc stay with you?
No, he went out of the bedroom.
Now, wait a minute. That left you and Mrs. Grant alone.
Uh-huh.
And was the door closed?
Uh-huh.
So nobody could hear what she said to you?
There wasn't anybody else, just Mommy and me.
Well, never mind. Tell us what she said.
Well...
Was she happy?
Oh, no.
She wasn't?
She didn't want to go.
Then why did she?
She said he made her.
Now, let's be sure about all this. Mrs. Grant didn't like it because Mr. Blanc was making her go away.
She didn't want to go.
Now, Dory, you and Mrs. Grant were alone.
I told you.
The door was closed. You were alone. Now, child, did Mrs. Grant say where she was going?
What?
Well, Mr. Blanc told you she was going home to her husband, going home to Mr. Grant. But what did she tell you?
That she was going home to Daddy.
Home to Mr. Grant? Is that who you mean by Daddy?
She told me that.
Now think, Dory, think carefully. She did tell you?
Huh? I thought he was fooling.
Mr. Blanc?
Uh-huh. So I asked Mommy if she was really going home to Daddy.
And?
That's right. She was going to Daddy. She told me.
You've just heard important testimony, ladies and gentlemen. This child is of tender years, but that moment of parting was important to her. You may be certain she remembers, and she remembers well. Oh, yes, May Grant was going to be taken out of that apartment, ladies and gentlemen. And she was unhappy. You heard this child say so. But you also heard what she told this child in the privacy of the bedroom. The prisoner was being freed. The prisoner was being sent back to her husband, sent away by the man she passionately adored, sent back to the husband she scorned. Oh, she must have thought of that as a fate worse than death. It was the death of the man who sent her, the death of Marcel Blanc. The poet has said, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. May Grant was scorned, ladies and gentlemen, scorned. Your witness, Mr. Mason.
Hello, Mr. Mason.
Hello, Dory.
Are you going to talk to me now?
That's right.
I don't have to talk to him anymore?
Well, not for a while.
Can I come down and sit in the big chair again?
Yes, if you want to.
Come on, Manuel Jr.
I'll take your time.
What was he talking about, Mr. Mason?
Mr. Apt? Oh, don't you worry about it, Dory. Now, look, I'm going to ask you some questions, and let's just think about them,
All right.
You want me to help you and your doll into the chair?
No, I can do it. Oh, have you got a lot of questions, Mr. Mason?
Quite a few. Are you tired?
Well, not exactly.
Oh, what's the matter?
Lean over just a minute. Let me whisper.
Oh, all right. How's this? Oh, could we have a short recess, Your Honor?
10-minute recess.
Oh, matron. Dory, just go with the matron.
Yes, Mr. Mason.
I talked to Bill Perry.
Good. Did you get it?
Yes, he brought the Bible.
Give it to me. Oh, wait. Come over here, Della.
Why?
He was tipping our hand.
What's the matter?
Apt. Turn your back to him and hand me the Bible. Sure he isn't looking.
Oh, is this all right?
Yeah, fine.
Well, then here you are.
Thanks. Stay where you are while I put it in my pocket. Don't want Apt to see it till I enter it in evidence.
I don't believe he's thinking of anything but Mr. Carlo at the moment.
Wait till Dory gets back. He'll think about this Bible and plenty.
If it works, huh, Perry?
Yes, if. Got a cigarette with you, Della? I think there's time for one before we get started.
Well, if there ever was a time for courtroom fireworks, for Perry Mason to pull a rabbit out of his hat, this is that time. And it looks as if something is going to happen. Just what, you'll never know. Unless, of course, you join us tomorrow. It's a few moments after the close of our last episode. Almost time for the trial of State versus May Grant for the murder of Marcel Blanc to resume. As, at the defense table, we hear...
May. May,
What? Oh, Mr. Mason.
you tear your handkerchief to pieces.
Don't worry.
But I am. As your lawyer, I'm worried plenty.
I'm not a lawyer, Mr. Mason. And those people on the jury aren't lawyers either. Everybody in this room knows how Dory's testimony makes me look. Like a thief, like an unfaithful wife, like a murderess.
May, put down that handkerchief.
Dory didn't want to say those things, but the way Mr. Apt made it sound, everyone thinks
No, not everyone. I don't.
Don't try to cheer me up, Mr. Mason. Thanks.
Listen to me. I said I thought Apt made a mistake putting Dory on the stand. I still do. And more than that, everybody is going to see that mistake when they find out what Dory's testimony really meant.
What? We hope Perry can show what Dory's words really meant.
Oh, here she comes now. Use that handkerchief to wave to her, May. And keep your eyes open.
Court is now in session.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Hello, Mr. Mason.
Hi, Dory. You ready to talk?
Just let me fix Manuel Jr.
Oh, yes, by all means. You must have your doll comfortable.
Oh, yes. There, he's all right.
Well, good. Now, Dory, I'm going to speak to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury for a minute. You play with your doll while I do that,
Grown-up talk?
Just for a second.
All right, Mr. Mason.
Ladies and gentlemen, the prosecutor read into the record May Grant's statement of the night of the murder, Mrs. Grant said that Marcel Blanc was planning her own murder, that he gave her permission to tell Dory goodbye, and then she was to be taken out and killed. The state claims that Mr. Blanc was merely sending Mrs. Grant back to her husband, that she was in no danger, and that Blanc was spurning her love. Now, Mr. Apt used this little girl's testimony to support his claims. I would now like to take a close look at her testimony. Dory.
Yes, Mr. Mason.
Here, take a look at this book. Now, see if you can tell us what it is. Here, you hold it.
Oh, it's my Bible. The Bible Mommy gave me.
What is this, Mason?
You've heard the young lady Apt. It's a small pocket Bible.
Mommy gave it to me.
Are you sure it's the same one, Dory?
Oh, yes.
Apt, would you like to examine it before I offer it in evidence? In case you were in any doubt, there's an inscription in front.
I don't see what this has to do with
You're about to. Dory.
Yes, Mr. Mason.
Now, I'm going to ask you to do something that isn't easy. I'm going to ask you to remember something just as hard as you can.
All right, Mr. Mason.
I want you to remember when you were given this book. And I want you to remember all you can that was said at that time.
Now, just a minute, Mr. Mason. This is a 6-year-old child.
Mm-hmm. A 6-year-old child who remembers very well, to quote you.
Eh?
Those are your words, Mr. Rapp. Would you like the court reporter to read them back to you?
No, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Now, Dory, tell us about it. And even if you didn't understand all the words, you tell us all of them that you can.
Well, Mommy gave me my little Bible.
Mrs. Grant?
Uh-huh. The last night in the apartment. It was after he said she was going home to Daddy.
And then Mr. Blanc left the room?
Uh-huh.
Now think, Dory. You told us a little while ago that your mommy said that she was going home, too. Now, we want to know all about that. Everything she said that you remember. So go ahead, Dory. Everything you can.
All right. Mommy sat down by my bed and she took my hand. I didn't want her to go and leave me, but she had to go. I remember she said...
It's almost time for me to leave, Dory. I'd like to see you fast asleep when I walk out that door.
Mommy.
Oh, darling. Please don't cry. Please.
Mommy, I want to go with you.
I know, baby. But you can't go with me.
He said you were going to Daddy. What?
Oh.
Aren't you, Mommy? Aren't you? Or was he just fooling? Mommy, was he...
Dory.
He said you'd come back and get me. Was he fooling, Mommy?
Dory, I've never lied to you. I've never told you a story. Something untrue.
No, Mommy.
So now I'm going to tell you something bad and something good.
What?
Mr. Blanc was fooling a little about me. I won't be coming back soon.
Mommy.
Don't cry. Listen and understand, and believe me, darling. Because it may be a long time before
you come back for me.
Before anyone tells you the truth again.
Mr. Blanc was fooling about you going back to Daddy. And when he said he'd take care of me...
Dory, darling, he wasn't fooling about that. I'm sure he'll take very good care of you. I have to believe that.
Daddy, Mr. Blanc said
I believe that, too, darling.
You'll see Daddy.
Someday, sometime.
You'll come back for me.
Sometime, darling. We'll be together again sometime. Somewhere.
You sure?
Very, very sure.
Did Mr. Blanc tell you you could?
No. Someone else. Someone else who always tells the truth.
Who?
Someone that you must learn to count on. God.
Oh. Where are you going?
To get a book. I've had it a long time. I'm leaving it for you, Dory. When you grow up and when you learn to read, I want you to read this book. Read it through and think about it. I don't expect you to understand now, darling. But promise me to try and remember. Try and remember to keep this Bible. Promise me, Dory.
I promise.
I'm going to read us something from it. Something that's true. It's all I can give you, my baby. Are you ready to listen?
Yes.
All right, then. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod, thy staff, they comfort me.
Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Daddy taught me all of it when I got home. It's the 23rd Psalm. I don't know what all the words mean, but it's pretty. It's awful pretty. And I always think of Mommy when...
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. The valley of the shadow of death. And the child asked, will you see Daddy? Will you see me again? And May Grant answered, someday, darling. Someday, sometime, somewhere. You all know the place and time she meant, ladies and gentlemen. The place and the time on the other side of the valley of death. May Grant thought she was going to be killed. But she had courage enough to find a way around telling a lie to the little girl she loved more than life itself. Now, Dory, one thing more, honey, and that's about all. Now, some people haven't believed that you and Mrs. Grant were actually held prisoners, have they?
What?
Oh, I should be ashamed of myself. You're tired, aren't you, darling?
I would like a glass of water.
Yes, of course you would, and a chance to get off that chair and move around before I ask any more questions. Your Honor, could we have a short delay while Dory gets a drink of water?
Oh, Your Honor,
You what, Mr. Rapt? Object to this child getting a drink of water? Object to her moving around a bit?
No, get your glass of water, child. Get your glass of water. Not that it will help you any. No, Your Honor, I have no objections to a short delay.
Things aren't going at all well for Mr. Apt. In fact, it looks as if his gamble in putting that child on the stand is going to turn into a losing gamble. That's what Kitty DiCarlo warned him might happen when Apt first mentioned using Dory. We're going to learn more about that tomorrow, so by all means, join us. It's immediately after the close of our last episode, as in Judge Selby's courtroom, Perry Mason approaches the defense table.
Oh, Perry. You know I don't hand out bouquets,
What's
but...
the matter with you, Della?
The way you handled that child. And Dory, she's so sweet. She's so wonderful and gentle.
You're going to have red eyes if you keep this up.
And besides...
I can't have my secretary wallowing in sentiment. Not right now. Not when I need her.
What for?
I want you to call Dr. Kenyon.
Who?
Kenyon, the psychologist on the juvenile board staff. We met her on the Clement marijuana
Oh,
case.
yes, that Kenyon. Yes, and?
Ask her to come here just as fast as she possibly can. Tell her it's important. Very important. One of the sweetest kids in the world.
Objection overruled, Mr. Apt. Is that clear?
Yes, Your Honor, but Yes, sir.
Continue, Mr. Mason.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, Dory.
Does that mean I can talk about it now, Mr. Mason?
That's exactly what it means. I have to ask you questions because some of us, not all of us, but some of us were getting kind of mixed up.
Oh?
For instance, some of us thought that you and May Grant wanted to stay in that apartment.
Oh, no. Mr. Mason,
That's what you told us. In fact, do you know what a prisoner is, Dory? Dory?
Prison? Oh, yes, Rapunzel. Rapunzel in the tower.
Oh, the princess.
She was locked up in the tower, and she had long, beautiful golden hair. The old bad witch came to the tower and said, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair so I can climb the golden stair."
She was a prisoner?
Yes. Oh, just like Mommy and me in the apartment.
You were prisoners?
Don't answer that. Objection, Your Honor. Defense counsel is leading the witness.
Oh, Mr.
And
Rapp.
confusing the issue.
Confusing, Mr. Apt?
Well, that child can't possibly know the meaning of the words put into her mouth.
The word prisoner? I think she has an excellent understanding. A prisoner is somebody just like Rapunzel.
Rapunzel, Mr. Your Honor.
Oh, thank you, my dear. Order in this court.
Your Honor, this court is no place for fairy tales, no matter what the defense lawyer...
That will do, Mr. Apt. I rule that she understands the meaning of the word in question.
But, Your Honor, Oh, very well.
Oh, he's getting mad.
Well, Mr. Apt doesn't like to be confused, Dory. And since there seems to be confusion in at least one person's mind at your definition, let's show what you mean.
What, Mr. Mason?
Well, Dory, were you and your mommy ever alone in that apartment? All by yourselves?
Oh, yes. One day after lunch.
In the afternoon?
Uh-huh. Afternoon. That means after lunch.
Yes, of course. Now, what happened that day?
Mommy and I tried to go home.
You mean you packed up your clothes and...
Oh, no, Mr. Mason. Mommy said we didn't have time. We had to go while they were out of the apartment.
So you didn't take your clothes?
No. Mommy took her purse and I took Manuel Jr. I couldn't leave my doll.
No, of course not. And so then?
Well, we went out of the door and down the steps. There was another door at the bottom. Mommy opened the door. And that was when that man
Your Honor,
said...
this testimony is a hodgepodge of confusion.
Again, Mr. Apt, it seems clear enough to me.
Seems, Your Honor, but I contend the child actually is so mixed up she doesn't know what she's saying. And furthermore, I demand that the confusion be cleared away now, without compounding this confusion.
Wait a minute, Apt. I think I know what you're driving
Mr.
at.
Mason. Now I'm getting confused. I've no idea what you're driving at, Mr. Apt.
The confusion in the mind of this child, she's getting dates and places and persons all mixed up. She doesn't even know who she is.
I still don't understand exactly what you're referring to.
Let me ask her a few questions, Your Honor. I can show you.
What's he saying?
Wait, Dory. Now, I object, Your Honor. Mr. Apt is looking for a chance to plant confusion.
Mr. Mason, All right. You may ask a few questions, Mr. Apt, but gently. I warn you, gently.
Why, of course, Your Honor. Dorothy, you walked down those stairs with your mommy?
Yes.
And what did Mr. Carlo say to you?
What?
Your Honor, if this continues...
Give her a chance to answer, Mr. Mason.
Mr. Carlo wasn't there. It was Mommy.
But Mr. Carlo is your mommy, isn't she?
Oh, yes, she is. But...
Isn't she?
Mr. Apt.
Oh, I'll be very gentle, sir, but don't you know who you mean, Dorothy? Don't you know who your mommy is?
But Mommy's my mommy.
Meaning Mr. Carlo.
Mommy!
Your Honor, everybody in this court knows that Dory refers to Mrs. Grant as Mommy.
I don't agree at all, Mr. Mason. She doesn't know who her mother is.
She understands sufficiently. If there's any doubt, Dory can simply refer to Mrs. Grant or Mr. Carlo.
Again, no, Mr. Mason. It isn't that simple. Justice is at stake here.
Justice? What justice is there in the first...
Please, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Apt, I'm listening.
This child's testimony is given weight by what she does or does not understand.
All right.
She's displayed a fundamental confusion in her mind. I demand that she be made to understand the true facts.
Oh, Your Honor, there is no reason for battering this little girl with something that she should understand slowly.
Oh, yes, Mr. Mason. Oh, yes, indeed, there is a reason. You would have very good grounds for another trial.
What?
If Mrs. Grant is convicted in court by a confused witness...
You're ignoring the fact that this child's testimony is helping Mrs. Grant.
For the present, it may look that way. But I have another witness to follow, Mr. Mason. And, Your Honor, before we take one further step, I must insist that Dory be made to understand.
What's he saying, Mr. Mason?
I'll answer that, Dorothy. It's time we found out just what you do and you do not understand. Now, believe me, Your Honor, I hate to do this. I really do, but justice demands
I'm sick of your crocodile tears, Mr. Apt. I know what you're after.
Mr. Mason.
Your Honor, I have...
Mr. Mason.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Dorothy,
No, you be quiet too, Mr. Apt.
Eh?
Mr. Mason, the prosecutor has raised a strong point. As long as there is ambiguity in this child's testimony,
Mr. Mason, I don't understand. I really don't.
I'll say it so you can understand, Dorothy. Suppose you come up here and sit with me again.
Your Honor.
Please, Mr. Mason. I want to do this as painlessly as I can. Come, Dorothy, and bring your doll and sit by me.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
Suppose
please,
you sit down, Mr. Mason. And you'd better sit down too, Mr. Apt, while I explain.
But, Your Honor...
Yes. Come here, my dear.
All right.
There. Dory, weren't you told that Miss DiCarlo is actually, really your mommy?
Oh, they told me. Daddy and Mr. Mason and Miss Street.
Then what do you mean when you call someone mommy?
I mean Mommy.
Mrs. Grant?
Uh-huh.
You call her mommy when she isn't your mommy?
But she is, because I'm her little girl.
Dory, child,
She's my mommy because I'm her little girl. My name is the same. Dorothy Mae Grant is my name, and Mommy's name is...
No, Dory.
What?
Not really. You aren't really Mrs. Grant's little girl.
But I am.
You see, if Mrs. Grant did have a little girl...
But she does. She does have a little girl, me.
Listen, Dorothy, Mrs. Grant doesn't have any children. Not really.
But I'm here. Dory Grant
Your name isn't Grant, honey, because Mrs. Grant isn't your mother. Miss DiCarlo is... what's her full name?
Sloan, Your Honor. Catherine DiCarlo Sloan.
Sloan. Miss DiCarlo's full name is Sloan, Dory.
But, Mr. Your Honor...
So your name is Sloan, not Grant. Grant isn't your name, honey. It can't be, because you aren't Mrs. Grant's little girl.
Mommy...
When you were a very, very little child, you went to live with Mrs. Grant. But that didn't change it, Dory. That doesn't make Mrs. Grant your mother.
But she is. Mommy
So when
is...
you say mommy, that has to mean you're talking about Miss DiCarlo, at any rate in this court, whose full name is Catherine DiCarlo Sloan.
No, I don't want to be her little girl. I want Mommy. I want... That I won't be anybody's little girl.
Dory.
If I'm not my mommy's little girl, I won't be anybody's little girl.
Come back.
So I'm not anybody's little girl.
Well, there's no confusion about what Mr. Frederick Apt wanted. He wanted Dory stopped before she could give further testimony. And now Dory's stopped. But Mr. Apt isn't. He's planning to follow through, to make absolutely certain that... Well, join us by all means tomorrow, won't you? A courtroom full of people has just seen a tragic thing happen to the little girl called Dory Grant. They saw Dory understand for the first time, really understand, that she really didn't belong to Mae Grant. Mae Grant saw it too, sat there helplessly and watched as the impact of her loss hit Dory. Sat torn with agony as Dory cried in terror and ran sobbing from the witness stand.
Dory!
But I'm not my mommy's little girl. I won't be anybody. I'm not anybody's little girl.
Dory.
Oh, Mommy, they said that...
Your Honor, this child and the defendant must not speak together until after... Dory, stop.
No.
Let that child alone. Let her alone, do you hear me?
Your Honor.
Matron, I think you'd better take the child into my chambers.
Yes, Your Honor. Come, Dory.
No, I want to talk to my mommy. I want my mommy.
Dory, baby.
Mommy.
May, for the love of heaven.
Mommy's coming, darling. Mommy's coming to her, baby.
Mommy.
Darling.
Mommy.
Let go of me, Della. Take your hand off my arm, Della.
Hey, where are you going?
Your Honor.
May.
Your Honor.
Will you please go back to your place, Mrs. Grant?
Your Honor, there's only one place for me. Beside that child whose heart's just been broken in this courtroom. Beside that poor baby who doesn't know where to turn. Your Honor, she's lost. Lost! And now she needs help and security and a hand that she believes is holding hers. Oh, Your Honor, I beg you. I beg you on my knees, Your Honor. Let me go to that child. And let me go now. Let me go now. And after I calm her, after I make her believe again, oh, I don't care what you do with me. It's no use, Mr. Mason.
What's that, May?
If that little girl's to be on trial instead of me, If it's her life at stake instead of mine, I'll let them do what they want with me. But let her go. Let that baby go.
Your Honor, I protest against this outburst of sentiment. Your Honor, the defendant has no right to make a speech to the jury.
And this court has no right to be so cruel to a 6-year-old child, Mr. Rapt.
As long as you used her as a witness, Mr. Mason, it was all right. Is that it? Well, it was necessary for this court to understand what she meant.
I deeply regret what has happened, Mr. Mason. But as Mr. Rapt has just pointed out...
Your Honor, there's a child on the other side of that door. A child sobbing her heart out. A child who needs love and attention at this moment. A child who needs to be soothed and calmed and made unafraid. May I go to her? May I?
Your Honor, I suggest that this be permitted until...
No.
What, Apt?
If anyone goes to that poor child, it should be her real mother.
Mr. Carlo?
Yes, Mr. Carlo. Your Honor, I suggest that you permit Mr. Carlo to do what she can with the child known as Dory Grant.
But Dory's afraid of her.
Then the sooner she learns to get over her fear, the better. Your Honor, I submit all this only goes to prove what I've been saying.
And what is that, Mr. Rapt?
That the child has been deliberately confused and made to feel insecure. The direct reason for the display of hysteria we just witnessed, Your Honor. I suggest that Mr. Carlo be permitted to go to Dory.
But...
That she be allowed a mother's
Wait, May.
privilege.
May, don't open your
Giving
mouth
Dory
now.
the
If you
freedom
love Dory and you
and
want to help her,
security
don't open your
that
mouth.
every
Now, I know what I'm
child
doing. Will you trust me
So,
for
Your
Dory's
Honor,
sake,
if you're
please?
dubious about placing Dory in her real mother's charge, why then put her in a place where she'll be taught security.
Mr. Mason, Mr. Rapt has been suggesting my turning Dory over to the juvenile authorities.
Away from the influence which has failed her so pitifully.
And, incidentally, arrange it so the child can't finish her testimony?
Mason, you can't seriously suggest that.
Just a moment. What did you say, Mr. Mason?
I think Dory can finish on the stand.
Put that poor, confused child on the stand again after... Oh, Mr. Mason.
Oh, Mr. Rapt. She wasn't confused until you confused her.
Well, she is now, at any rate. I'm afraid she's entirely too upset to go on.
Judge Selby, please.
No, Mason. I'll recommend that she be turned over to the juvenile board. Oh, naturally, there'll be an investigation, and in the course of time, if Dory is found in a suitable condition to testify, I'm sure that...
Your Honor, time is important, yes, but not as important as that child's soul.
What?
An investigation could take weeks. And what happens to that child during those weeks, Your Honor? Your Honor, if you have any children of your own...
What do you suggest?
I suggest you put Dory's feet back on the ground now. Give her back her emotional stability now. Have her finish her testimony now.
What?
Over here, Doctor, please.
Right this way, Dr. Kenyon.
Thank you, Della. Thank you for coming, Doctor. Your Honor, this is Dr. Kenyon. I believe you know her.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Doctor, this is Mr. Apt. Dr. Kenyon is psychologist on the staff of the juvenile board.
Oh?
Did you see what happened, Doctor?
I did.
Oh, Dr. Kenyon.
Now, I should tell you all, Dr. Kenyon is familiar with Dory's case.
And just how did you happen to be here, Doctor?
Why, Mr. Mason called me.
What?
I expected trouble, Mr. Rapt. Not such serious trouble, not trouble which so deeply involved the child's emotions, but trouble.
So you had your doctor right here on the spot?
Not my doctor. The juvenile board's doctor.
And I, for one, am glad she's here.
Oh, so am I, Your Honor. Because I'm certain the doctor is a fair-minded woman. I'm certain the doctor will agree with my approach.
Suppose we find out. Did you see what happened, Dr. Kenyon?
Yes.
I should like to repeat, Your Honor, that Dr. Kenyon is familiar with Dory's background.
Yes, I've gone over all the reports very carefully.
Good. And?
Well, Your Honor, you and I may be at odds, but it's my belief that right now the emotional welfare of that child is the most important thing.
We have no argument.
But then perhaps there'll be no argument if I say the child needs to be soothed and calmed as rapidly as possible.
I think we all agree.
Well, then, since we're in agreement, may I suggest that we adjourn and give Dory an hour or two with the one person who can calm her, the one person who can restore her security?
Are you possibly referring to May Grant? To that woman?
Yes, Mr. Rapt, to that woman. To this woman who stands beside me now.
Please.
To the mother, in fact, of Dory. Dory was hurt, yes. But I don't believe that she was hurt so badly that this woman's love and understanding can't smooth out that hurt.
Mason, I'm shocked.
What'd you say?
Mr. Apt is shocked.
I am indeed. May Grant is the last person who should see that poor child. Well, you saw the demonstration yourself, Doctor. You saw how torn Dorothy was. You saw her hysterical reaction.
Mr. Apt thinks Dory's reaction proves a profound insecurity.
Oh?
But I wonder if her shock doesn't prove how great was her love and security.
How was that, Mr. Mason?
If Dory hadn't been fundamentally secure in feeling that she was May Grant's little girl, then how could she have been hurt so badly?
Oh. But...
Well, I'd say, in plain, non-scientific language, that that's as obvious as the nose on your face, Mr. Mason.
Well, then, if I'm right, it follows that May Grant, Doctor, is the person to give Dory back what was just snatched away from her.
Now, just a moment. Dr. Kenyon, are you seriously considering Mr. Mason's proposal?
Why, yes.
This is highly irregular procedure. Just letting Mrs. Grant go to the child, not going through proper legal channels.
Mr. Apt, if you please, sir. Now, you gentlemen can spend the day chopping legal logic. That's up to you. But do you know what's going to happen? I mean, even if legal channels are followed, Judge Selby will turn Dory over to us, and then I'm going to have Mrs. Grant see the little girl. It'll take longer that way, but the result will be the same. Now, of course, I won't try to justify Mrs. Grant's illegal adoption, if that's what it was. But you can't justify torturing that little child any longer.
How do you know she'll want to see Mrs. Grant?
Oh, well, of course, we do make mistakes, Mr. Apt. Maybe I'm dead wrong. But in my opinion, this thing can be a quick hurt and a quick healing. If it isn't healed quickly, well, excuse me for sounding scientific, but it could leave a deep scar on Dory for life.
If Mrs. Grant can make little Dory feel better, I mean right away, do you think she might be able to finish her testimony?
That depends. If her love for Mrs. Grant is as deep as I believe it is, and if Mrs. Grant loves Dory as deeply as I believe she does, I said a quick healing, and that's what I mean. Well, time is wasting, gentlemen. Either let Mrs. Grant see Dory now, or I'll take the necessary steps.
You don't have to do that, Dr. Kenyon.
But, Your Honor...
I'll give the necessary orders. Mrs. Grant.
Yes, Your Honor.
Will you go to the child?
At once, Your Honor. At once. Oh, and thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, behind the legal fencing and the smooth words, one fact stands out plain. Perry Mason knows that Dory's testimony is vital to May Grant's defense. Yes, May Grant needs help, but Dory needs help, too. And whether or not their love will be strong enough for each to help the other, well, maybe we'll learn on Monday. So be sure and join us, won't you? It's immediately after the close of our last episode. As in Judge Selby's courtroom, we hear...
May, wait.
Oh, let her go. Let her go, Della.
But, Chief,
Nothing is as important as getting to that poor child now.
This is.
What?
The doll. Manuel Jr., Dory's doll.
May. Let me go to it, Della.
I wouldn't stop you for the world, May. I just want to give you this.
Manuel Jr.
Yes.
Mexican doll.
Yes.
Thank you, Della.
That's all right, May.
Now...
Go to her, May. Go ahead inside.
And give her our love.
Thank you, Della. Oh, it's dark. Dory? 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 Oh, Dory, baby. Where are you, darling? It's so dark in here, Dory, where are you? Is that you? Oh, baby, baby. Is that my baby all huddled up in a dark corner? All huddled up like a poor, frightened little... Oh, Dory, darling. Let Mommy take you. No. It's Mommy, darling. Your Mommy. Your Mommy's come to you, darling. Look at me.
I haven't any Mommy. Mr. Urano said so. Oh, Mommy. Mommy.
Come here, baby. Let your Mommy hold you.
Mommy.
Hush, baby. Baby. Mommy's got you, darling. It's all right now.
Oh.
That's it, darling. Put your head against my neck. Put your arms around me. It's all right. It's all right. Mommy.
I'm just taking you to the chair, darling, so we can sit down together. Now you're on Mommy's lap. The way we used to sit. Remember? It's been so long. So very long.
I can't stop crying.
Hush, darling.
I can't stop.
Well, don't try. Cry all you want.
I don't want to.
Well, I feel like crying. Oh, I'm so glad to be with you, darling. I could just cry my eyes out.
Glad to be with you.
Are you, darling? Are you sure?
Yes. But he told me you couldn't.
Hush, baby.
He said you couldn't even see me.
That wasn't it, darling. That wasn't it.
But
I'm here. You're sitting on my lap. Right here, with my arms around you. And I brought your doll to you. Did you hear me, Dari? I brought Manuel Jr. in. He's over there on the couch.
I dropped him.
Well, he's here.
Mr. Urana told me that...
When Judge Selby told you that I'm not really your mother, you ran away.
If you're not my mommy...
But that isn't why you ran away, Dari. Did you hear me, darling?
What?
You didn't feel bad because of what Mr. Urana said? Now lift up your head, Dari. Lift up your head. Look at me. And here. Get down off Mommy's lap and sit on the chair for just a minute.
Oh, Mommy, don't.
I won't. I'll be right back. I'm going to raise this fly.
Oh, the light hurts.
But it's better when we see things the way they are.
Mommy.
I'm not going anyplace. I'm just getting Manuel Jr. Manuel Jr. was lonesome all by himself. Wouldn't you like to have him come sit with us?
I would. Thank you, Mommy.
You're welcome, sweetheart. Now, let me lift you and Manuel Jr. up on my lap. There.
Oh, Mommy. I must...
Now, wait, Dari. Listen to me, will you, darling? Try to understand.
Yes?
Honey, Judge Selby didn't say we couldn't see each other anymore.
But he did. He said...
Hush. You didn't understand. You felt bad because you didn't understand.
I heard him. I did.
Dari,
He said...
what he said was, he said, I'm not really your mommy.
Yes. That's it.
Now, wait, darling, wait. He said, I'm not really your mommy. But if you'd listened to him very carefully, you'd have known that he didn't say that you weren't my little girl.
What?
Because you see, you are my little girl. You couldn't be anything but my little girl.
Mommy,
You've always been my little girl, darling. Always. And, honey, that hasn't changed. I love you. I've always loved you. I always will love you.
But you aren't really my mommy.
Dari, in every way, but in just one way, I'm your mommy.
What?
I love you as much as any mommy could love her little girl.
I love you. You too.
Of course you do. And if I love you, and you love me...
That makes me your little girl.
You are my little girl.
But I...
Now hush. And let me tell you something else. You and I, we're special.
Special?
You see, you weren't with me when you were a tiny, tiny baby.
Where was I?
Well, for a little while, you were with somebody else.
Oh.
But, Dari, if you had been with me always, then you'd have to call me Mommy. Then you'd have to. Then you'd have to be my little girl. And that's why I say that you and I were special. You see, this way, I'm your mommy and you're my little girl because we want each other. Because I want you to be my little girl.
Oh, and I want you to be my mommy.
That's it. That's it. Now do you understand?
Oh.
Now this way, isn't it ever so much nicer?
But...
Yes, Dory?
If I wasn't with you all the time...
Yes, Dory?
Don't some little girls stay with their mommies all the time?
Yes, most little girls.
Could you...
I love you just as much, Dory, just as much as if you'd always been with me. And Daddy loves you just as much, too.
But I wasn't with you.
But it doesn't matter, darling, really. Really, it doesn't matter. It was only such a little while that you weren't with me.
Oh.
Just... Oh, Manuel Jr.'s sliding off.
Don't let him fall.
No, of course we won't let him. We'll put him... Do you want to hold him?
Yes, please. He was lonesome.
Dory, you love Manuel Jr., don't you? Not like you love Daddy and me, but you really do love Manuel Jr.
Yes.
Dory, where did you get him?
We got him in the railroad station.
But you saw him, remember? You saw him and you wanted him.
Yes.
But he was already there, wasn't he? He was already in the railroad station at the stand.
Yes. At the stand with... But why, Mommy?
He was already there, but you saw him, and you wanted him, and you got him. Now you love him.
Yes.
He didn't have to be with you from the start, did he? You loved him from the first time you saw him. Dory, Mommy loved you right from the first time I saw you.
Oh?
You're not a doll. You're my own precious little girl. But you can see, can't you, darling? You're mine. And I'm yours, and that's the way it always will be. Always, always, and always.
Oh, Mommy.
Oh, you're all right now.
Yes. Mommy.
Yes, dear.
Little girls don't come from stores, do they? Or from stands?
What?
They don't, do they? I've never seen little real babies in stores.
Oh, Dory. Oh, Dory. Oh, I love you, sweetheart.
And I love you, Mom. I really, really do.
What you've just heard, May Grant healing Dory's hurt, reassuring her in her bewilderment, is going to have a profound effect on May Grant's own fate. And you'll see why in our next episode. So join us tomorrow by all means, won't you?